Alrighty then. Ayisakhuleke nganzethu but lezimafikosana. Alrighty then. Shintsha somoya mavuna vanonzini namadoda. Mnumzana amanzi ngingetshe. Dibula badibulani into zasezweni yona inyanga le lapha ekhaya. Gobela iqolo yakhe ongena gobela hayi ngoba afaka soza bekhona. Alrighty then. Ha. So I'm going to do this in English, né? So this is just like a preview of a few things we're going to be talking about this week, right? So I just wanted to touch on something. So Mondese, this one is for you, my brother man, right? This one is for you. So let's put it this way. So we're going to be talking about mental health is it Friday? Yeah, I think it's Friday.
Thursday.
Oh, Thursday night. Yeah, we're going to be talking about mental health. We're going to be talking about obviously your schizophrenia. We'll be talking about trauma, depression, as well as bipolar. Right. So just to give a snippet, and then we're also going to talk about the transition between these two, and spirituality. I don't want to just say specifically ubungoma or ubunyanga or prophetism or anything like that, because all of these things fall under the umbrella or the sphere of spirituality, right? Hence, all of these things have different methodologies, have different segments and different characteristics as well, depending on how they show themselves, etc., etc. Right? Cool. So just to make it a little bit simple, just to touch right? Just a little bit. So obviously, when we touch base on things such as the schizophrenia, obviously there'll be people that specifically. I'm thinking people that will specifically be dealing with those type of things. However, I'll also touch on my understanding as well of these things, such as schizophrenia. When we start with schizophrenia, obviously we're looking at the scattered pattern of thinking. Yeah, one. So obviously your scattered pattern of thinking, obviously a certain person. Then we look at obviously negatives. There are symptoms, by the way, with these. You get. Last time I checked, it was negative, positive, and cognitive symptoms as well. So when we look at all of those things, there we're now looking at the nitty-gritty in terms of such as your delusions. We're looking at your hallucinations. We're looking at disorganized speech and disorganized behavior as well. All right, and then we're looking at the positives. Oh, those are the positives. And then we're looking at negatives, and then we're looking at things such as your emotions. We go down into certain processes as well. Young understand. Then we're going to be touching on bipolar a little bit as well. So bipolar is a very serious thing as well, guys. It's basically a mental condition. It's a mental condition, and when we look at this mental condition, it's basically the ability to think. Yeah, sorry about that. They like to talk for themselves, right? So we're basically looking at the mental condition and the ability to think and it affects your ability to think straight, basically. And there's certain things that you end up doing. Sometimes it's even in a manner of which when you don't realize you're doing these things, né? And these things are also done in a certain period of time. So there are also different types of bipolars as well. You get your bipolar 1, bipolar 2, and your cyclothmic. Yeah, I had to remember that one, eh? Your cyclothmic disorders as well. Alright? So in all of these things, they are also affected in the manner which one person has. Then we look at the mania versus the depression, and it's what do you call these things? It fluctuates depending on what it is and how long it has been affecting a certain person. Right. That's just bipolar. Ne? Then what else we did? We spoke about schizophrenia, bipolar, trauma, and we're going to be talking about depression, I think. Yeah. I think I'm correct. Right? So obviously we're looking at things as depression. So depression, obviously, guys, depression is It's basically a disorder, right? Defined by your emotions, defined by my feelings, and I'd also like to say experiences. From my take, I also say experiences, regardless if it could be a very bad experience or something that made you go through something that you really couldn't you couldn't really get over. That's what I think as well. Also, is one of the things that really hinders in your mind and comes back continuously and things like that, right? Now, there are different ways to look at this depression thing as well, right? Then trauma, for me, trauma is basically it's a, I would say, it's a feeling, or rather a feeling which reminds you of an occurrence of a very bad situation or a very terrible situation, right, Bon? And these are the things that could come back and also haunt you, right, Bon? And most people end up having that problem of not being able to sleep. Whenever these sounds happen, they get the fright, or whatever has happened in that traumatic situation had to reoccur, and then you get a person shaking, or there's so many ways to do that, right? Ha! So obviously we're talking about these things now, né? How it affects obviously your way of thinking. It affects you, your way of thinking, your mental strength, your emotional intelligence, and how you perceive as it. Righty then. Then now, how do we then look at these things versus the spirituality side of things? Whereas these things now come in a manner of which it's literally direct communication as to this is what is happening now. Guess what? These symptoms or these things that are happening within you, regardless of what type of spirit or what type of thing that is happening to you, then obviously you end up thinking what you call this. Also having certain symptoms that could also lead to similar symptoms that would lead to things such as depression, where obviously you end up not being able to sleep. It's a lack of sleep, lack of concentration, lack of everything. Sometimes even timid thoughts of suicide, timid thoughts of you just leaving, being away from everybody. You're also talking about how this correlates to things such as your trauma, where you've seen this happen to someone else before. Maybe a person, you've been accompanying someone, and then they start changing how they talk. There's certain barriers that have to be broken in order for these things to happen. Maybe you're a person that's scared of animals. Maybe a person has been hurt by an animal, and then you have to be there, and now all of a sudden these animals have to be touched by you. Which could also be a traumatic experience for a certain person as well, and these are things that will also be inclined, or rather you could also find in the side of spirituality, right? Ha! All right, let's talk, guys. Let's talk about these things. I just wanted us to touch on a few things. These are the things or the type of conversations that we're going to be having, right? See you guys on Thursday.